Now we need to look at setting up your computer and make sure that you have everything in place you need to get started with this class. So what we're going to start off with here is a walkthrough. This will be the first time that you follow along with me on your machine. I'm going to go through the setup for class, and you're going to follow along and verify that everything that I am doing, you're able to verify on your machine as well. What we're going to do here is download the course file from the MuleSoft Training Learning Management System. We're going to make sure you have JDK 1.8 and that it's included in your path environment variable. We're going to also make sure Anypoint Studio is on your machine and starts successfully. Install a tool called Postman for REST requests. Make sure you have an active Anypoint platform account. And then for the Development Fundamentals course, which is what all of you are taking, we're going to make sure you all have a Salesforce developer account and API security token for one of our use cases we'll need later in the class. In order to get our computer set up, we'll first need to open up a web browser. In a web browser, navigate to training.mulesoft.com. Once at the website, if you're not already logged in, let's click on My Training Account. And let's enter the same login credentials you used to register for this course. After you've logged in successfully, you should be able to scroll down into the My Learning section. Now, depending on how many other classes you've taken with MuleSoft, you may see more or less than me here. But we're looking for the MuleSoft U Development Fundamentals course, and we're going to click the Start Course/Pathway button. Once you've clicked the Start Course/Pathway button, you'll see a navigation along the right side. There's a couple ways that you can get to these downloads. The way that I'm going to do is click on this little download button in the top of the course page. Once the download has been selected, if we scroll down, we can see some of the key items. One of the items is a PDF guide of your setup, so you can also go through this PDF to learn how to set up your machine for this course. So take a moment to download that now if you haven't already. But most importantly, we want to make sure we have the MU Fundamentals 3.8 student files. These will be key for some of the exercises we'll be going through in class. So let's go ahead and launch that download. Now, once this download is complete, we're going to go ahead and unpackage it and take a look at some of the key items inside of it. In fact, there's one file in particular I will have you open up just so you can get some exposure to it, as it will be quite critical to a lot of our exercises. So now that the student files have been downloaded, I'm going to unpackage the zip, expand these student files, and inside of these student files, you have a couple different items that we will get into in class. For now, before going any further, I'd recommend storing these student files somewhere on your computer that you can remember and access quickly, because we'll often jump back and forth in the exercises. Once you've moved this to the location you'd like, be sure to open up the snippets file. This snippets file has a bunch of links, examples, things that we are going to be copying and pasting from in class to make it much easier. That way you don't have to type everything along with me as we go through larger bodies of text we need to input. So again, the snippet file is very key. The videos will reference them a lot, so be sure to have this up and ready when you're going through the exercises. Great. Now that you've got the required student files for this course, let's make sure that your environment is set up appropriately. First things first, inside of your environment, you should already have the Java JDK to use in this course. If you're not sure if JDK is already installed, or if you're unsure of what version you have, we can check it very quickly. First, if you're on a Mac or Linux-based machine, open up a terminal window, and if you're on Windows, open up a command prompt. Inside of your respective prompt, let's type in java-version. Now, for this class, you need at least Java 1.8. So in this case, you can see I'm set up with Java version 1.8. It's also quite important that the Java version that you're going to be using is going to match the Studio version you're going to be running. So since I'm on a 64-bit machine, I'm going to be using JDK 64-bit, and I'll also be using the 64-bit version of Anypoint Studio. It's possible that when you ran the command java-version, you either got a response that said something along the lines of Java command not found, or maybe you had a different version altogether. Now, if the Java was not found, Java version, it could simply mean that Java is not installed on your computer. But it also could mean that your path isn't set up to see Java. My recommendation would be to go out on the internet and visit the Oracle JDK and JRE installation guide. You can do a quick Google search for it, or pause the video and copy the URL from my screen here. This will walk you through the setup on your specific environment. Now, if you do find that you already have JDK installed, but when you type in Java version, nothing comes up, it's once again possible that it's just not in your path. Now, if you're on a Mac or Linux-based machine, you can echo out the path in this case. And if you're on a Windows machine, you can simply type out %path %, and get a printout of what that path is. Now, again, if you're not really sure what these locations are, you may wish to go in and check the installation guide. In my case, it doesn't explicitly call out Java as being in my path, but on my machine when I installed JDK, I have a link to the JDK binaries in one of these directories. Thus, it's resolving from my path. If you do need additional details, check the Oracle website, as that guide will show you pretty cleanly how to set it up. All right, now I'm going to assume that you have Java on your machine. The next thing that we need to do is we need to install Anypoint Studio on your computer if you haven't already. So to get Anypoint Studio on your computer, you can simply head out to MuleSoft.com/LPDL Studio. After filling out your information inside of here, we can hit download. And inside of the download page, you're going to be presented with Anypoint Studio with the embedded MuleSoft3 runtime. Now, if you're watching these videos after a later release, it's possible you could see an updated version. You'll choose your appropriate operating system. And if you're using something like Windows or possibly even Linux, be sure to download the appropriate architecture for your machine, whether it's 64-bit or 32-bit. As a reminder, this should match your JDK version that you're using. Once the download for Anypoint Studio is complete, it will put an application somewhere on your machine. In this case, I've moved it to my desktop, but feel free to put Anypoint Studio wherever you feel is most appropriate. Once you have Anypoint Studio on your machine, feel free to launch it. It will ask you where you would like your workspace to be located on your computer. This will prompt up again, but for now, you could simply choose some location on your machine that will pop up and move on with the setup. Once you hit OK inside of here, you should see a welcome screen with some details about Anypoint Studio. It's also quite common on the first launch that you will get a pop-up in the bottom right-hand corner stating that there are updates available, as you can see in my screen here. Pause the video now and take a moment to run any Anypoint Studio updates that are currently available on your machine. Now, for those of you who might have already had Anypoint Studio before this class started, we need to make sure you have the newest version of Anypoint Studio, which is 6.0. On a Windows machine, you should be able to go into Window and get more information. To verify the version of Anypoint Studio, you should simply be able to go into the menu bar on your respective operating system and get more details. On a Mac, there's an About Anypoint Studio in this main menu, and I believe on a Windows machine, you'll see it somewhere in the Help menu as well. So in this case, I'm going to go to Anypoint Studio and About Anypoint Studio. And we want to verify that you have version 6.0 or a dot release of 6.0 that is newer than the one you see on my screen. Once we have this, we can assume that Anypoint Studio is set up and good to go. Now, we can close out of Anypoint Studio and check for one more tool that's going to be quite helpful. Throughout this class, we're going to be using Postman, a Chrome extension, to send RESTful requests on our machine. To check for Postman, just open up an instance of the Chrome web browser. Once inside of Chrome, you should be able to check for any apps that you have by going to Chrome and then going to Apps. This will bring up an Apps menu. In this case, I already have Postman installed. If I didn't have Postman installed, it's quite easy to go to getpostman.com and then follow the installation process for Postman. You'll have a couple options of the type of app you want, but as long as you've got the Postman application, you should be able to follow along with these exercises with the requests that we'll be making together. Now, another thing that we're going to need is access to Anypoint platform. So let's go to anypoint.mulesoft.com. And once at anypoint.mulesoft.com, if you don't already have a trial account, take a moment now to sign up for that trial account. Once you've signed up, you can log in with your credentials. And before using this account in class, let's just make sure that you have adequate amount of time left in your trial. So what we can do here is go into this menu in the top left, and then head down to Access Management. From Access Management, if you go under Subscription for Runtime Manager, you're going to see some details in this box at the top. Now, typically, it will say Trial and tell you when that trial expires. If your trial has already expired, you'll need to sign up for another trial account for the duration of this class. Now, I'll assume that you have Anypoint platform access so that you can do some of the exercises inside of this course. The last thing we need to check for access on is that you have a developer.salesforce.com account. Now, this last step only applies to those of you who are taking the full developer course online or in the classroom. Let's go ahead and make sure that you have access or have an account with Salesforce. To do this, we're going to go to developer.salesforce.com. And on the developer.salesforce.com website, if you don't already have an account, take a moment to pause this video and sign up for one. Once you do have an account, let's head to the login screen. From the login, let's put in our username and password and log in. Now, if you have two-factor auth set up, go ahead and take a moment here to enter in the two-factor auth to verify your identity. Now, once you've logged in successfully, it's possible that it will pop you back to the Salesforce developer homepage. If it does, go up to your name in the top right and click on My Developer Account. And upon logging in successfully, you'll get to the Sandbox Salesforce account that looks something like this. What we'll do here is we'll make sure that you have a security token that you can use throughout this course. So, to get that security token, we can go up to your name in the top right and head to the My Settings link. Once inside of My Settings, in the left navigation, you'll see a box stating Personal. Expand the Personal navigation and find Reset My Security Token. Then you'll click the Reset Security Token inside of here. Now, I've already got a token, so I won't be clicking on it. But if you don't have a token, you can click this button and Salesforce will email you a security token. Now, you want to save the security token somewhere that you can reference later in class. So take a moment to store that somewhere that you can come back to and reference when we get into the need to use Salesforce down the road. Now, with all of these pieces set up, you should be good to continue on with class and should be ready for our exercises. So we'll see you in the next section.